It's 5:45 Sunday morning, and it's going to be a very hot and muggy one. I reckon 33, 34 degrees, so a perfect But it's Sunday morning and it's going to be a hot one. Looks a bit cloudy out there, but actually it's going to peak at about 34 degrees this morning. But it's Sunday morning, 5:45 a.m, and it's going to be a hot one today. I reckon it'll peak at about 33, 34 degrees. Quite muggy as well, because it is London after all. Therefore, a perfect opportunity to practice a long ride and maybe mimic some of the conditions I may be confronted with in La Marmotte. So, going to get a 6-hour ride in, going to kind of loosely simulate some of the climbs from La Marmotte within London. Yes, that is going to be a challenge, more of that to come, but also going to practice the on-bike nutrition. So, into the biddens is going to go some high five, and this one's got a little bit of caffeine in, 28 milligrams, and some high five without the caffeine in. Obviously the aminos are going to get mixed in, but also on the bike and in the back pockets, I've got a whole load of gels and food and other kind of energy bars, that kind of thing, to give me around about 60 to 70 grams of carbohydrates per hour. Anyway, need to get a shake on. So both the biddens are full with the amino acids and the high five. And I've got a full cup of oats mixed in with some protein shake. I won't drink all of that, but I'll have some water as well, just to start the process of hydration. Goes without saying, I ate plenty of carbs throughout the full day of rest yesterday as well, so the glycogen stores should already be nicely topped up. Well, welcome to about an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes of sweet spot training, aka my Col de Glandon, which is about 1,100 meters of climbing, and I reckon it'll take an hour to an hour and 10 minutes at sweet spot. I've just ascended London's Col de Glandon. 1 hour of sweet spot, 231 watts, average 35 kilometers an hour. I did the first 40 minutes on the outer loop of Regent's Park, but the traffic lights became a little bit troublesome, so I did the final 20 minutes on the inner loop. So quite happy with that. And now for a little descending before we move on to the Telegraph and the Col de Grimpee. Also, I've been practicing my on-bike eating. And I've got this little bag here on the bar, and I filled out the sides of the bag with some gels, but I discovered that when you're up and out of the saddle, I experimented with a little bit of that, your knees actually rub against the side of the bags. Therefore I know in real life when I go to do this that I need to eat from there first, then the middle of the bag, and then the jersey, or indeed just not overfill the bag itself. But I do think it's difficult to do that because you do need 60 to 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour, and therefore the rear pockets and the little bag are well and truly full. Anyway, going to enjoy the descent and move on to new terrain within London for London's Telegraph and Col de Grimpee. This is a nice neighbourhood. We've just gone through Kentish Town on the way to Upper Holloway. But I gotta say, I guess, well, I'm guessing, it is a guess, that London's descent from the Col de Glandon is probably somewhat less spectacular than a real thing. Anyway, nonetheless, my legs are enjoying a nice little recovery. We're in a kind of 100 to 200 watt range. En route to the Telegraph and the Col de Glandon, where the legs are going to get a real beating, as they will on a real thing. I've got something special planned. Well, we'll see. See if the disc brakes can take it. Yes, you know where this is. The lane they call Swains. Well, welcome to ascent number 2 of 30 of Swains Lane. That is correct. Basically, to ascend the Telegraph and the Col de Glibier, it's 2,200 meters of climbing. It's about 30 ascents of Swains. Objective, upper end of sweet spot on the ascents. Now, while for the Glandon I hit 231 watts, i.e. lower end of sweet spot, in real life on a Marmotte I will be looking to invest more heavily, in particular on the Col de Glandon. So definitely aiming for the upper end of sweet spot on each of the ascents. Now, when the ramps really step up, in effect I'll be at threshold even in the smallest gear. I've currently got a 28 on the back. Well, I've just completed 20 ascents of Swains Lane, another 10 to come. Pretty difficult, in all honesty. Completed it in just under an hour 50. Average power was 160 watts. The normalizer will be a lot higher because, as you saw on that 10th ascent, especially on the steeper ramps, you're putting in kind of power of 320 to 420, albeit as I got further and further into that block, I got better able to deploy the power seated and just accept a much lower cadence and manage the power in the 300 to kind of 350 watt range, which was a little bit easier. But pretty happy with that. Need to replenish some water, and happily a little coffee shop, a temporary coffee shop, has just set up shop right in the middle of Swains Lane. I'm sure that won't happen on the out, so I'm going to get some water there, have a little bit of food, and then get on with the final block of 10 ascents. There's a real lifesaver. I'm back on with the 10. So here I am back at the top of Swains Lane, second block completed, block of 10 ascents, 30 in total. Very happy to have got them under the belt. It is very repetitive, but I reckon I was pretty consistent across all 30 of the ascents. The average power in the second block was about 161, 162 watts, similar to the first block of 20, so the normalized power is going to be roughly the same. And obviously we can compare the power as it drops off on the 30th ascent versus the 10th ascent. Obviously put a tiny bit more effort into that 30% because it was the last one after all, and I knew I was going to do the power overlay and compare with the 10th. But generally I reckon I was pretty consistent, so very happy with that. That's 2,200 meters of climbing, roughly the equivalent to the Telegraph and Col de Glandon. And in real life there'd be about, I guess, I don't know, an hour of descending and flat before you get to Alpe d'Huez. So I'm going to take it, you know, nice and easy, spin out the legs a bit, eat plenty on the way to the London Velodrome for the training on the velo circuit, another hour of sweet spot. As an FYI, feeling quite good, well hydrated, been taking down about 60 grams of carbs per hour. So, you know, fingers crossed, seems to be working. It was a bit cooler than anticipated, I guess, for the first half of the training, but it's certainly got a lot more hot and humid now, so that's good, because obviously in the Alps there is a high chance that, you know, it's going to be pretty hot indeed. Well, welcome to my simulation of Alpe d'Huez. Well, it does have a hairpin. Here it is. Anyway, full disclosure, in all honesty, I prefer to be at home, sunning myself on the balcony, having some carbs, maybe a glass of wine, but time to get the job done. Now, my intent when I actually get to Alpe d'Huez in real life is to gradually ramp the power and basically just gently ease myself into the climb and find a nice little equilibrium. So aiming to start here at around 200 watts and see where I can end up ramping the power to. Hopefully I'll still be in the sweet spot on average at the end of the hour. I just had a moment to myself, just filmed the last lap and a half or so. I'm not gonna lie, that was properly emotional. That last hour was a real struggle for me. I held on to like 201 watts for the first 40 minutes, but then I imploded in the final 20. I think I averaged about 186 watts over the full hour. That shows you just how much watts I bled in that final 20 minutes, but boy, I just wanted to stop. Glad to have completed it. Averaged 33 kilometers an hour over the hour, so that's pretty good here. And looking at the overall training, it's about 6.5 hours, 169 kilometers, 2,750 meters of climbing, normalized power, 219 watts. So just a tiny bit shy of sweet spot in terms of the average normalized power, but like I say, on that Swains Lane, you're way into zone 5 and zone 6 for little short ramps on that. Oh, dear me. That's the first kind of really big ride I've ever done. Certainly a metric century, as it turns out, just a bit over. So, you know, happy with that. Learned a hell of a lot from all of this. Gonna definitely need to stop a couple of times to take on more water in the Alpe. I had to go and buy more water a couple of times here. There was an ice cream van near the velo circuit. Oh my word, that was a relief. I had a full fat Coca-Cola as well. I think I got the carbs just about right at 60 grams to 70 grams an hour. I don't think I bonked at the end there. I think I just ran out of energy. But yeah, overall, glad to have banked it. Tentatively looking forward to La Marmotte. It's going to be proper difficult, massive challenge for me. I've got to be honest, I think I prefer the shorter, you know, an hour, 2 hours, whether it's an outdoor crit or a Zwift race, that kind of challenge. But really looking forward to being outdoors in the open, in the mountains with loads of other people on the challenge for La Marmotte. But I hope you enjoyed this simulation, a London simulation of La Marmotte. Not 100% accurate, but you know, as good as I can manage, I reckon. Okay, I'll report back in a little bit when I've just gathered. Oh, I'll put myself back together a tiny little bit. I'm absolutely withered. Withered is the word. Dear, oh dear. Big respect to everybody that puts in these 150, 250 kilometer rides on a regular basis. That's seriously tough. Feel quite tight in the chest as well. So yeah, definitely a couple of days of rest, I reckon. Time to focus on obviously reboosting the immune system. That would have been murdered. Training stress was something like 360, which is huge for me. The post-ride weigh-in. I've lost about a kilogram over the course of the 6.5 hours. So the post-ride nutrition doesn't really deviate, but really critical today because the immune system is going to be impaired for at least a couple of days. So starting as always with the ultimate greens. Very, very fulsome vitamin profile, including D, all the Bs, B12 to reduce the feeling of fatigue, vitamin C to boost the immune system, plus zinc, potassium, iron, magnesium, that kind of thing, for blood health and heart health. So that's the first. Oh, can't get the top off. Just cheers. Quickly absorbed into the system. Then will come the protein and hippie milk to deliver the amino acids to start the process of repairing damaged cells, in particular muscle cells. More vitamin C, this time from the pink ladies, to help reduce the adrenaline and cortisol that's surging around the system, and again boost the immune system. Critical part of the post-ride nutrition strategy, certainly for me. Then I'll be onto the carbs. I'll have one of these. I'm really loving the iced spice buns from M&S. They're really, really nice. Very low fat, very, very tasty. Some French bread. And of course, the bon moment. Question is, what flavour will it be? I'm still loving the strawberry and rhubarb. So a scoop and a half of the Huel Black Edition. It's going to deliver 30 grams of protein, fast digesting protein from plant sources. I think it's pea, rice and flaxseed. There we go, tiny bit more. About 300 calories in that. Not that I'm worrying about the calories now, a bit more of the hippie milk. I guess because it mixes up the plant sources, you've got a fulsome profile of amino acids. I haven't looked into it, but that's typically why a lot of the vegan proteins have multiple different sources of protein. Cheers. I haven't put enough of the hippie milk in and managed to drip it down my cheek. Very nice though. Still prefer the vanilla flavour on the Black Edition. Well, I've inhaled the post-ride nutrition. I made a rare old mess in the process. Need to get it cleaned up before Jane gets on the deck. So just like that, it's like I was never there. Anyway, Monday and Tuesday is going to be 2 full rest days. Let the body recover, recuperate, and hopefully repair itself just a little bit stronger and more powerfully than before the day began. And thereafter we'll see where Mr. Ed Laverack wants to take the training over the back end of the week, and maybe even a Zwift race over the weekend. Let's see. Anyway, just like that, this vlog is over. And if you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, it'd be hugely appreciated if you would. Cheers.